The season starts off with Peter saving a bunch of lives after he spots Colin planning a bomb on a subway train. Afterwards, Peter again spots Colin in a crowd of people before following him into an alley where they fight, but an injured Peter loses the fight and Colin flees. Later in Stone Ridge, Emma and Henry's home get broken into by two assailants who unfortunately kill both of them, but not before they give Rose information to seek some help. Rose then finds a home and phones Night Action, where Peter answers, helping Rose hide out long enough from the assailants before the police show up. After the incident, Rose and Peter meet each other because Peter is ordered to take Rose somewhere safe for her protection. But en route to a safe location, Peter and Rose are being chased by the two assailants that Rose witnessed at her aunt and uncle's house, but they manage to escape. Peter and Rose finally arrive at the safe house, but Rose doesn't want to tell anyone the truth at the briefing because she heard her aunt say someone in the White House couldn't be trusted. Those two diseased maniacs stole a baby to deceptively gain entry into Denise's home so they can retrieve a duffel bag with unknown content. Peter then does some digging to find information and finds out that Deputy Director Hawkins used to be Emma and Henry Campbell's handler in counterintelligence. Eventually, the two assailants manage to track down Rose at a hotel, but Peter shows up just in the nick of time to rescue her. And while hiding from the assailants, Peter then calls Farr about who has the authority to disengage Rose's protective detail and guesses that Hawkins is among the handful of people who can do so. Back at the Campbell's house, Rose tells Peter more of what she heard the night her aunt and uncle died, which includes the codename Osprey and the fact that something will happen in 7 days. Soon after that, Peter and Rose travel to a cabin in the woods in search of a hard drive, which Peter eventually finds. Then, after Peter and Rose find an encrypted folder on the hard drive, Rose can't open it. So Peter calls Farr again to help Rose gain access to the folder, but instead, Peter learns that Hawkins is dead. In a flashback, it shows that Farr recruited Peter for a position in Night Action a year after the Metro bombing, and we flash back to the present, and Peter tests Farr to show Rose that she can be trusted, but right before they leave to go to the White House, the two assailants conveniently show up at the cabin. We then see Director Almora appoint Secret Agent Eric Monks to protect Vice President Redfield's daughter, Maddie. Peter decides to go to the White House alone and gives Farr the hard drive, but it'll take hours before the files can be decrypted. The Vice President's daughter, Maddie, then goes to a party where she is unfortunately attacked by a douchebag, but luckily for her, Agent Monks saves her. Rose's plan works as Peter steals Farr's security card to gain access to the computer equipment she needs to gain remote access and transfer the files from the hard drive to her computer. When Farr finds out what Peter did, she confronts Peter before she tells him that because there were no leads in the Metro bombing case, it is believed that it was an inside job at the White House. Rose is looking through the files in the hard drive and finds an interview with Omar Zadar, who is the leader of the People's Independence Front. Rose then finds some blueprints on the hard drive, and she and Peter travel to Lorna's house. Lorna, who was friends of the Campbells, may have some information for them. Once they get to Lorna's house, Lorna takes Emma and Peter to the city to help them understand the schematics that the Campbells were looking into. But Peter steers the conversation into thinking that the bomb was meant to explode somewhere else. So Peter, with his cop friend Cisco, tracks down the two assailants, but unfortunately they weren't home because they received coordinates for the next target, who happens to be Lorna. Rose continues to watch surveillance footage from her laptop until Peter notices Chelsea in the footage, and he realizes that this investigation has nothing to do with terrorism, but it's an assassination plot, which prompts Peter to go to Georgetown and ask questions of Chelsea, but she can't give any information before the news travels through the grapevine to Farr and Almora that Peter is questioning a Secret Service agent. Things really start to heat up between Maddie and her creepy art teacher to the point where she plans to go to his house for some shaboing-a-boing. Peter then visits Hawkins' wife, where she tells him that Hawkins was personally investigating the Campbell's death, but there were inconsistencies that led him to Turn Lake Industries. Peter then calls Farr to relay his findings, but before he and Rose can leave to meet with Farr and President Travers, Rose finds out that Turn Lake Industries were political donors to Redfield. The two assailants had a tracker in place to follow Rose and Peter while the Secret Service are all looking for Maddie. Colin then interrupts shaboing time between Paulo and Maddie and kills Paulo before kidnapping Maddie. Agent Monks' suspicions pay off as he and Chelsea locate Paulo's home, only to find Paulo dead, bloodstains on the wall and Maddie's clothes on the floor. And for fear of what could happen to Rose if both he and Rose were to present their findings to Farr and Travers, Peter decides to leave Rose with Cisco for her protection. Peter then tells Farr that it was Turn Lake Industries that orchestrated the Metro bombing, before Farr tells him that the reason for all this commotion in the White House is because Maddie went missing. And in a not so shocking twist, it turns out that Rose was right not to trust Farr, because she informed Gordon Wick, the CEO of Turn Lake Industries, that Peter knows about his relationship with Redfield and his connection with the Metro bombing. Farr then plans to have Peter arrested, but Peter escapes from the White House using the FDR tunnel. And while this is happening, Cisco and Rose are being chased down by the assailants on the road to the pier. So Rose got out as part of Cisco's diversion plan, but it turned out that Rose had the tracker on her all along. Rose then gets attacked by one of the assailants before Peter shows up and saves her by killing him. And to cover Farr's ass and his own involvement in the Metro bombing, Redfield makes a public statement stating that the person responsible for Maddie's kidnapping is Peter. Monks and Chelsea don't believe Peter had anything to do with Maddie's kidnapping, which leads them to New Leaf, and they learn that Paulo just wanted to use Maddie for his own campaign. Wick receives a video file showing Maddie is alive, and he shows it to Redfield, saying that he better confess his involvement in the Metro bombing or Maddie will die. The duffel bag had a bear inside of it with a webcam, and on video it shows Redfield assaulting Maddie and telling her to keep perpetuating this lie that she was responsible for her sister's death. So Maddie wants to use this information to destroy her father and wants Colin's help to do so, but he's not interested. Agent Monk's and Chelsea's investigation leads them to Peter's godfather Jim, who then directs them to a boat dock where they find and arrest Peter and Rose. And in a flashback, it shows that Colin had a twin named Mateo, and he was killed instead of Colin because Wick was getting rid of a loose end to the Metro bombing. So Colin seeks revenge for his brother's death. Redfield finally puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that Wick knows who has Maddie, and he also doesn't have control of the situation. A situation where Farr wants to have both Colin and Maddie executed. Peter and Rose tell Agent Monks and Chelsea what they found, but Monks and Chelsea do their own investigation to find proof of these allegations. Chelsea then tells Peter that the target she was protecting that day was Zadar, and Peter figures out that Zadar is the target that Redfield wants to assassinate in the next 24 hours. Maddie then tricks Colin into recording another video message that was sent to Chelsea, and Peter figures out that she is in a DC shipping container depot. In the Situation Room, Travers wants to establish relations with Zadar, who happens to be Osprey, but Redfield is against it because he believes that Zadar is what a real terrorist is. Maddie manages to successfully escape on her own, and Colin chases after her only to be apprehended by Peter, but Colin is then killed by the last remaining assailant. During a shootout, Agent Monks is mortally wounded before Rose finds and pushes the last assailant to her death. Another flashback shows that Farr was forced to conspire with Wick and Redfield after the fact. If she didn't, the ramifications of the Metro bombing would affect everyone. Peter and Rose then confront Farr to get her to stop the assassination, but Farr knows nothing about a change of plans that would have her friend Travers assassinated. In yet another flashback, it shows Peter's father being arrested on suspicion of being a traitor. Back in the present time, while Peter is on the way to Camp David, Peter learns that the reason why he was chosen for night action was just in case Farr needed a fall guy, amongst other cover-ups. And upon arriving at Camp David, Maddie and Chelsea split up. Maddie goes down to a bunker to hide out with her father, who wants to start fresh with her. Chelsea then locates the bomb on her own and manages to evacuate everyone out of the building, including Maddie, who didn't want to hide with her father in the first place, just before the bomb goes off. Peter then finds Travers and holds her at gunpoint until the soldiers who have swarmed the area check the helicopter for a second bomb, but it's too late and the bomb goes off in the vicinity. In the aftermath of everything that has occurred, Redfield is arrested and Maddie agrees to testify against her father at trial. Travers then offers a reward to Peter, but what Peter really wants is to learn the truth about his father. Unfortunately for Peter, he learns that his father was not the innocent man he thought he was after all these years, before Travers offers Peter an opportunity to become a night agent. Peter obviously accepts, and the season ends with him looking at an iPad as he is being debriefed for his first mission. And guys, that's it for the recap of Night Agent Season 1. Hopefully this recap has given you everything you need to know before you watch Night Agent Season 2. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, peace.